Your name, your age, and your occupation.
My name is Mary Zheng. I'm 30 years old, and I'm a social worker.
You're a social worker. Interesting. So what does that capacity involve for you? What do you work specifically with?
Right now, I'm working with substance abuse counseling.
Wow.
But I've done a lot of crisis intervention. For example, working at crisis hotlines, working in emergency departments, working in wintertime emergency homeless shelters. So, yeah, but right now, working with substance abuse counseling in Philadelphia.
So talk to me about the process that got you there. Is this something you've always wanted to do?
I feel like I was always called to do social work. I didn't realize it though until one year I spent hitchhiking, backpacking alone around the Mediterranean, and every country that I went to, there were people who told me their secrets and then ended up saying, wow, I've never told that to anybody. I feel so much better now. And me thinking like, you know what? I feel great too. That was such an experience for me. So I came back from that and I realized, I think a therapist gets to get paid to do this, to like listen to people's secrets and help them see their strengths.
Yeah.
So then I, did Peace Corps and some other things that I wanted to do before launching into my career.
You really checked off like the humanitarian bucket list.
I did AmeriCorps as well.
Wow.
Yeah. So I've kind of been doing social work, way before I got my master's in social work.
Yeah. So then what has that process been like? Have you always worked in substance abuse counseling or any other subjects?
Substance abuse counseling is new for me. I started that right after grad school, but I have had personal experiences with people that I've cared about who have suffered from substance abuse.
Wow. And so, yeah, I think you're able to, as you try to be as objective as possible in the work that you do, but I would imagine you sort of have that personal touch as well, especially probably the loved ones of those that have gone through that experience.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I know what it's like when they're talking about like, yeah, I was doubled over in pain. It's the worst thing that you could ever imagine. I'm like, I was on the other side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then let's talk about Habitat from Humanity to building a very different type of habitat with a different type of humanity. Let's talk about Survivor.
Yeah.
What brought you out here?
So I, was looking for a way to make money because my mom was really stressed, really stressed about money. So much so that she didn't want to attend like happy family gatherings because she wasn't in the mood. She was stressed because my parents are political asylees and forced to immigrate to the U.S.
Wow.
Yeah. But anyway, well, to supplement that, I was looking for a way to make money, but also I love the show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to say there are easier ways to make money.
There are easier ways to make money for sure, but I mean, you factor that in the necessity to make some money, but then also my love for adventure and love for the show and the way that this game is so, wait, can I cuss?
Please.
It's so fucking crazy. It's like both like exactly like real life and and like real life amplified like times 101. Like in real life, if you don't have connections, you're not going to get anywhere. And I don't just mean career wise. I mean in terms of like satisfying your soul and like finding meaning, right? It's all about connections. And it's like that on the island. But also out here, the name of the game is deception, and I don't lie at all in real life. Like, at all. Like, that shit lowers your energy so much. I, like, make it a rule to not even try to white lie. But out here, it's the exact opposite. So, I'm so fascinated by this game and the ways that it is so much like my normal life and exactly opposite. And, like, nothing that I could ever experience other than coming out here and playing it. And I've done a lot of crazy stuff in my life. But not for a while. I mean, I went to grad school. I, started setting down roots in Philly. And it's really been a while since I've gone out there, done something that's scary and challenged myself. And that's another reason why I'm out here is because I feel like, unlike my parents, I don't have a communist regime coming after me. I've never faced incarceration. I'm not facing any like oppression from the government. And I want to be pushed to see what my limits are.
Interesting. Yeah, to be able to explore a new side of yourself, especially someone who probably felt like there was a routine, right, that you were getting settled into, lovingly so. Sometimes it's always good to shake things up a little bit.
You need to shake it up.
And also,
I need to shake it up.
I give you that appreciation as well for the routine that you're having when you come back to Philly. So you talk about having this fascination for the game. How long back does that stem? What's your history with watching the show?
My history with watching the show is not as long as some people's, but it started during COVID.
Okay.
I started watching during COVID. And
I mean, quite literally, better late than never, so.
Yeah, exactly. And I can't say that, I don't really watch TV, but when I am watching TV, it's Survivor. Because I feel like I want to be living my life out there, not in front of a screen. And so, yeah, I'm not ashamed to say that I'm not out there watching TV all the time. But when I am watching TV, it's Survivor. And initially, what I loved about the show was, what made me think that I could do it was I was watching all the water challenges and heroes versus villains. And I thought to myself, you know what? Like, what are these people? They're, like, choking out there. You know? Like, I feel like I could do so much better. And
I love this idea of, like, some of the greatest players in Survivor history, God, they're terrible swimmers.
Yeah,
I could beat them
they're
any day.
terrible swimmers. They're amazing strategists. But with swimming, with swimming, I feel like I could beat them. And so that was initially what sparked my, I guess, interest in, it's not what sparked it, but it made me think, maybe I could do it. And then as I watched more of the show, I realized it's about reading people as much as it is about getting people to trust you. And I'm really good at both.
So then looking back through Survivor history, albeit ones that you've watched recently, give me one winner and one non-winner who you identify with the most, personally or strategically.
I really identify with Ben.
Ben from last season or Ben Driebergen?
No, Ben Cowboy Hat.
Oh, Cowboy Hat, yeah, Ben Driebergen.
Yeah. Ben Driebergen?
Driebergen.
Ben Driebergen, okay, yeah. I really identify with him because he was just always on. Like, he had this fierce desire to win at all costs, and I feel like that it's what I'm going to be like when I'm out there playing, is that just like, yeah, I'm going to be sleeping, but, like, am I really sleeping or am I, like, dreaming up strategies? And also, I'm hoping that I get to play like him in that I am a spy.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I want to do some espionage. Yeah.
What about a non-winner?
A non-winner. Who do I really like or identify with as a non-winner? I mean, Caleb's time was cut way too short. But I feel like I would be someone like him on the island where everybody would just be like, damn, she's kind of like friends with everybody. Because I feel like that's one of my powers, is that I can turn even enemies into friends. Just give me long enough.
What is that? Is that power of persuasion? Is it charm?
I think it's honestly killing it with kindness and persistence. Persistently, like, showing love and being kind, so that whatever this person's got going on with them, they realize that, like, oh, you know what? She did remind me of somebody that I hated, but actually she's really different, and she's nothing like what I expected, and I'm down to give her a chance. So if I were to ask you your biggest piece of kryptonite in contrast to your superpower, what would it be? I think my kryptonite with this game is also my strength. My strength and my weakness are one and the same. It's that I play a really good social game, and that is going to be, people are going to smell that, like, from a mile away. Yeah. Is that the saying? Smell it from a mile away? I think you can do any sense from a mile away, you know? Okay, as long as you're not tasting it from a mile away. Okay, yeah. That would be maybe if you were afflicted by COVID still. Like at the opposite of COVID. Yeah, interesting. Well, talk to me about that, because obviously you have done so many things that have been to benefit other people, and that does work to obviously a certain extent in Survivor, but do you have that individualism as well to be like, listen, I love you, but I gotta cut you if it's the difference between me and $1 million? Yeah. That's something that I've been working on for maybe about like 4 or 5 years. Wow. Which is learning how to say no to other people so that I can say yes to myself. I love that. Yeah. Because, I mean, both my parents are like pretty much like, my dad's a political martyr. My mom is the sole breadwinner for our family. They're both putting themselves last. And of course, that's how I grew up thinking that, like, it's good to eat last. That's what you should do. But I've done things for people that, you know, because I didn't want to hurt their feelings. For example, this one girl in Morocco, I love her so much. She welcomed me into her family, but I spent like $3,000 helping her with an illegal abortion, and I only had like $9,000 out for myself traveling. And by the end of that, I feel like I kind of became like her like protector and like her bank and everything all rolled in one, and it really tarnished our relationship. And I realized, like, you know what, Mary, you can't give endlessly. You have to learn to give to yourself as well. And so I've been trying to put myself first when I can in real life for a while now, and I feel like this experience is going to be the ultimate test.
You want to open doors for other people, but you don't want to be the doormat.
Exactly. And, you know, I want to open doors, but I also want to learn how to shut them, too.
Mm-hmm.
And just be like, you know what? This is my room. This is my space. Sorry, you can't come in because I need to be in here if I want to win $1 million.
What's your favorite moment in Survivor history?
Oh, my gosh. My favorite moment in Survivor history. What the heck? That is a crazy question.
I know, there's a lot to pick from.
Yeah. Do I get time to think? Or?
You can take as much time as you need.
Okay. I'm gonna think. Oh my god, there are so many moments to pick from. Wow. Okay, I'm thinking. Oh my god. Okay, yeah. Yes, this was wild. When Denise got Sandra out.
Oh,
that
yeah.
was fucking crazy. That was fucking crazy. And then afterwards, when Sandra was offered the chance to stay and play the game, she was like, I'm good.
Yeah.
I don't have anything to prove. I am the queen. And I know my worth, and I'm going to leave this game for people, for my predecessors to pick up.
Yeah.
The whole thing was just crazy. I mean, like, Sandra had, I feel like, an uncharacteristic moment of weakness in which she led with her heart rather than her head. And Denise just snuck in there and just decimated her like that. Yeah, for Sandra to be so uncharacteristically emotional, for Denise to sneak in at the perfect moment, and then for Sandra to just so gracefully accept defeat.
Yeah.
I think that was one of the best moments, greatest moments on Survivor. What's
one life experience you feel has prepared you the most for this experience?
I think volunteering at a crisis hotline where 25% of the calls were suicide related really prepared me, because you have to make connections like that. And it's not connections, it's trust. Yeah. You have to get someone to trust you within moments of speaking to them for the first time. And you also never know what's going to happen, what call you're going to get. You don't know if somebody has already swallowed 2 bottles of, what's that thing that people...
aspirin.
Benadryl.
Oh, Benadryl, wow.
Benadryl. Or if they have a gun to their head. That was one of the first calls I got from my training. This guy was like, how are you? And I'm like, good. And he's like... I'm like, how are you? And he's like, I got a gun to my head. And I'm like, all right, why don't we just put that down on the table? So you have to keep your calm. You have to be able to pivot and embrace chaos. And yeah, I think that helps keep me grounded.
Well, I think there's also this idea of kind of handling people that are in a state of emotional turmoil.
Yeah.
Right, where their feelings are winning out perhaps over logic, and that is such a thing in Survivor with the deprivational elements, with personal emotions involved too.
Yes, yeah, definitely. I'm already imagining myself talking an alliance member off a cliff and being like, we don't need to do that.
Yeah, exactly.
We can wait. Revenge is best served cold.
You wrote in your bio, you have a hunger for control. I need to hear more about this.
Yeah. So that's also something that I've been working on as well, because overgiving is linked to a desire for control, a hunger for control. When you give and when you overgive, it is, or when I would do it, it was an unconscious attempt to assert control, because when you give, when you're the hand that feeds, you are in power. And I feel like, I don't know, I mean, I grew up in an environment where that control from my parents was necessary. They were in a foreign land. They didn't have time to learn the language. Customs, cultures, everything was different. And so I was able to learn, like, how to keep things under control.
Yeah.
But because I realized that this control was kind of, you know, making me feel safe, but it wasn't actually setting me free, I decided to try to learn how to overcome that.
Yeah.
So that was when I set out to hitchhike and backpack, not with like a big backpack, but like a really like normal size backpack, around the Mediterranean with no plans at all. I got so good at it that like some nights I'd be like hitchhiking, end up in a city that I didn't intend to go to, where I didn't know anyone. My phone was on like 2%, and be like 8 p.m. and I didn't know where I was staying that night. So I got really good at just like going with the moment and like trusting that I was not going to die. That's my bottom line. Is that like if I'm not going to die, I'm good.
Yeah. Where did your parents immigrate from, if I may ask?
From China. My parents were involved in the 1989 Tiananmen Square demonstrations. They helped organize it.
Oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah. So my mom was in charge of the press and the paper that was circulating along the square, and my dad helped lead the hunger protests. They were the older intellectuals that were guiding the students in the student-led movement. But because of their involvement, my mom was incarcerated for 9 months. And my dad, there was a nationwide search for him. He was on the most wanted list. There were pictures of his face in every major city. So after my mom was released, she escaped house arrest, and with the help of all kinds of people, like from religious people to sex workers to police, my mom and my dad were able to reunite, and from there they escaped and were smuggled on a boat to Hong Kong, where they then received political asylum from the U.S.
Wow. And so I do think it's probably, fostered this attitude in you, right? To like speak up for what's right from your perspective.
Absolutely. And to not care what people think, and then also to make something out of my life. To push myself and to try to squeeze every last drop out of life that I can.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's what I'm doing now.
Well, to that point, let's talk about some of the other fruit on the tree, as you were, because I'm sure you've been sitting around these past several days, looking around at the people around you. Let's start on the positive side. Describe to me some people that, for you pick up good vibes from. Best case scenario, you hit the beach on day one. This is a ride or die for you.
Yeah. So there is this taller black guy with kind of like a fro, not really, but like 1-2 inches or something like that, maybe 1 inch. And like every time the servers take his food, he says thank you and like either does like a praying motion or puts his hand on his heart. And I'm like, you know what? He seems like a very, very sweet boy. And yeah, I would be down to play with him. And then who else? There is the gay guy with the mustache. He just reminds me of one of my friends at home. And he's been really kind to me as well. Because even though we can't talk, I mean, you can feel people's energy. You can feel when they are happy to see you or like find you amusing when you do something on accident, stuff like that. And who else? I would also really like to work with this one. I think he's Asian. He's Tanner. He's maybe like mid-30s or something. He and I think, have in common that we have rich inner landscapes.
Ooh, I love that term.
Yeah, because everyone out here is journaling to some capacity. But when you look at most people's journals, it's like the first 3 pages. They literally got a journal because they were like, well, I'm going to be out here, like I want to process and learn and discover about things about myself. But me and this guy, our journals are almost done, which means like we actually journal in everyday life. That's something that I've been doing since I was 17, almost every day. So I feel like if I were to work with someone like him, he'd be thoughtful. And yeah, I think he would really think things through. And I would appreciate that in an alliance partner.
Yeah, is that what you're looking for? That sort of ability to think things through from beginning to end? Is that like the main tenet in an alliance for you?
It's kind of in alignment with that. It's also that I need someone who is going to lead with their head and not their heart. Okay. Because
to not be that Sandra.
Yeah, you can't be that Sandra. You can't like let that moment of weakness get you, because yeah, you need to play with your heart, but I mean, I trust myself to play with the balance, but I would rather trust someone else who leads with their head. Yeah. Because I don't want someone blowing up our cover or spreading secrets because they're ticked off about someone, and then that, blowing up our entire game.
So what about on the other side of things? Are there some bad energies you're picking up, or anyone you can't get a read on?
I would say that it's hard for me to get a read on this one girl who sits in front of me. she has like dark hair, a lot of hair. It's like really thick. I'm actually kind of jealous. I'm like, dang, I wish I had that much hair. But it's hard for me to get a read on her. She reminds me of some people who I've met in my life who judge me for being loud or chaotic and thinking that I'm only one-dimensional and that I don't have deeper thoughts.
Interesting.
Yeah.
You talk about being judged. How do you think you'll be perceived out here? Because, again, you are someone who works on a day-to-day basis about presenting yourself in a certain way. How much is that going to carry over to the beach?
I think it's going to carry out on the beach for like one day. I think it's going to last one day, me trying to ensure that people don't see, I guess, like all the sides of me. There are lots of sides of me. So initially, I think people's perceptions of me will change because there are so many sides of me. Initially, they might think like, oh, like, she's pretty chaotic. She's pretty wild. Like, she's loud. She'll eat whatever. She'll say whatever. But then as time goes on, and I'm hoping that I'm going to be able to hide this, but I don't want them to see exactly how strategic I can be. It's necessary that they see that I am capable of strategy, but I don't want them to see the full scope of my strategy because then I feel like I would be too much of a threat. And one of my rules for this game is to, for as long as I can, keep someone who's perceived to be weaker and perceived to be stronger around me.
Okay, interesting. So you're still you want to be that middle of the sandwich.
Yeah, absolutely. Because as soon as you're perceived as the ultimate threat, you got like 5 guns pointed at you. Everyone's out to get you, and then you don't want to be a liability either. I mean, I really would respect someone who came out guns blazing the entire time, beginning to end.
Yeah.
And still won.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very true.
Mad respect for that. I don't think that that's for me. That's not my style. But also, may I add that other than a few rules that I have for myself, I don't even know how I'm going to play. Because one of my strengths is my adaptability.
Yeah.
The way that I play is going to depend on how everyone else around me plays. It's going to depend on the pace, on the energy, and even the culture that the rest of us unconsciously co-create. If everybody is like down to like form these deep, true alliances, cool, I'm going to form tighter alliances. But if everybody is like, hey, excuse me, like, we're out here alone, playing for ourselves, we might unite for this vote, but that's all, then I'm going to be the best lone wolf that there ever was on this island. So, for me, a lot hinges upon what I see happening around me. I'm more of like a sit back and observe and then pounce, which doesn't mean that I can't go in for the kill. It just means that I'm not going in for the kill the moment I step out on the beach.
You talk about pouncing. I mean, let's talk about some things you may be able to hold in your paws to help the pounce. The new era, the DNA of it is idols, advantages, journeys. How much do you plan on incorporating that into your game?
I plan on incorporating it into my game. I can't say how much because it depends on whether or not I can even find them. But for example, I know that, and people might not like me for this, but if I do find an advantage or beware advantage right before the day of tribal council or like right before I'm going, I'm probably going to take it and like hide it in another spot that only I know. Because I'm not going to fucking give myself a heart attack and give myself only 10 minutes to like complete a task that requires at least 20. So I'm going to use those things for sure, like the beware advantage, but on my own terms. And then idols. Oh my God. I love the new era, but I also love the old era where people were able to like come out and bang, use like 2 idols and just like completely turn the game on its head.
Yeah.
I feel like people don't do that anymore. I mean, people literally go home with idols instead of...
Quite a few do lately.
Yeah, exactly. So I want to be able to display that kind of expertise with idols.
So on that note of recent behavior, I imagine that as you knew you were coming out here, you had one eye on seasons like 45, 46, and looking for some takeaways to bring into your own game. What are some of those takeaways?
One of the takeaways that I want to bring with me is to really beware of the beware advantage and to give myself enough time to accomplish the task that it is asking me of, which requires hiding it if I do find it right before tribal council. And something else is that when the merge has been announced and everybody is to pack up their things and they have 10 minutes to all go to the same island, I'm going to keep my eye out for everybody because I don't want someone pulling a hunter and using that time to find something right before they leave the island.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you talk about this hunger for control, and I noticed you wrote in your bio that you like fully produce your own music. You write the lyrics, you perform it, you edit it.
Yeah.
Talk to me about this passion of yours.
Yeah. Oh, well, actually, I don't fully produce it. I find the beats on YouTube. But
I mean, it counts,
Yeah, I had to find them, Other than that, yeah, I write lyrics and I sing and I do the engineering myself. That's a new thing. I've always loved singing. You can ask anyone in my life, like, I've always been a singer. My mom was classically trained in opera.
Wow.
Back in the day. Yeah, so I think I got some of it from her. But
what's your preferred style?
I think it's a really high compliment, but people say that I sound like Erykah Badu. I'm just going to say more generally that it's like neo-soul. Like Amy Winehouse is one of my biggest influences, and Lana Del Rey.
There we
I'm
go.
a Lana girly. In terms of lyricism. But I would say that it's jazzy R&B. And recently, most of the time, it's about men who have done me dirty.
Okay, so you're basically like a Taylor Swift version of Amy Winehouse.
Kind of. I kind of hate Taylor Swift, but that's fine. I'll accept it because I am writing about people that I've been with who I don't like.
From your own job perspective, what's the cover story? What did you tell, your clients or people you were working with about where'd you be? Because I guess you could also use the out of like, I disappeared again to go to someplace like Morocco for a month. No,
this is hilarious. Well, like I said, lying lowers your energy, so I didn't want to lie and say something that wasn't true. But I am proud of myself for what I did come up with. People would be like, "Where are you going?" And I would be like, you know what? I'm gonna go take care of some business. And they were like, okay, Miss Mary, how long are you gonna be gone for? I was like, a long time, longer than I'd like, but I'll be back. I'll see you when I'm back. I'll call you when I'm back. And it worked like a charm because the population that I work with, props to them. A lot of them have side hustles that are kind of illegal. Like, I've had clients before be telling me about, like, how much money they're making, like, selling XYZ thing that's illegal. And I'm, like, writing in my notes, and they're, like, talking. They're like, don't write that down.
Off the record.
Yeah, they're like, it's off the record. And so they understand what it's like to have to take care of business. Okay. My business is just a little bit different than theirs.
Yeah, I imagine they're going to be like, that's the business? Next spring.
Yeah, exactly.
What is your hottest Survivor take? What would you say is your most controversial opinion about a player or a season or the show in general?
Oh my God, I just thought about this earlier. My hot take is that Applebee's isn't that great. I can't say I've ever eaten there, but I've heard from friends that like have eaten there and like gotten sick. And I'm sure I'll love it because it'll be food.
That's the thing. From what I've seen and heard, it's very any port in a storm of like, all right, great, but you're not going to have a Liz-esque
I'm not.
reaction.
When they're like, it's Applebee's, I'm going to be like, okay, translate, it's food.
Yeah. It's basic caloric consumption.
Yeah, it's sustenance for me. My family and I, we didn't really have the money to go out and eat, so I can't really say that I'm that familiar with that many restaurants. Because I just didn't go out to eat that much.
Yeah. Let me describe a scenario for you. If you could bring a celebrity or a fictional character out as a loved one for a loved one's visit, who would it be and why? You did say some names beforehand. Would you bring Lana Del Rey out there?
Let me think. A fictional character. Who would I bring? I would probably bring Amy Winehouse.
Okay.
So that she could just talk to me in her accent and be like, you got this, babe. You got it. Don't worry. You're going to kill the competition. And just like, I don't know. I feel like she's got a lot of... I love Amy.
Yeah.
I love Amy, yeah.
And you could put like a nice buff on that giant beehive hairdo she rocks so well.
Yeah, exactly.
Last thing I want to ask is, of course we know that Survivor 50 is in the, the front view mirror at this point. We know it's returnees.
Mm-hmm.
How are you going to make your mark on season 48 so that we're going to be having a conversation this time next year?
How am I going to make my mark? It's hard to say because I don't like to overpromise and underdeliver. What I can say, though, is that I'm going to play hard and I'm going to play as myself. That's all I can guarantee. And if, inshallah, the stars align and like the way that my personality is, which is very obsessive and easygoing, out out for the kill, but also very chill. Hopefully that meshes with the people around me, but I'm not going to be focused on doing things for my resume or like trying to get a call back for 50. I mean, I'm just going to play the game because what matters is right now. This is all we have. Yeah.